Good evening as well as good morning to all my fellow Israelite you who's out there in Christ. Uh, this is your host one and nine, basically touching on the subject to whom which concern us as brothers and sisters of Israel. Dealing with Hollywood clowning black women, and the reason that is because we look at Esau entertainment industry, which is called the game, which is also known by as to be, which it is, a game. So we take a look at Esau's entertainment industry, it's also known as the game. When it comes to movies and sitcoms concerning our people, and we look at the role that the women mostly have, it's basically the role that they want them to have that will lead them remaining in the awful state and condition that they're in, messed up. Having bad hygienes and the wrong attitude instead of good hygienes and the right attitude. We look at these characters that they have, the Judite man. When I say Judite man, I'm talking about the slash so-called black man. And when I say the Judite woman, I'm talking about the slash so-called black woman. And they had Judite men playing feminine characters. Why? It's all to what? It's all part of the Willie Lynch thing. And to perpetuate the divide and conquer method that they had in mind for ages, in keeping us as a people docile unto them in society, that we may never rise up and overcome them. Why? By reversing the nature, making the men out to be effeminate and the women out to be masculine. Basically, feminizing the men of Judah and masculinizing the women. I would rather say it in this sense, in spirit and truth. It would be better said. In masculinizing the woman and in feminizing the men. So they feminize the men and had them to take on feminine character, that the woman may play more of a masculine character, instead of having the men who are masculine take on the masculine role, as they only supposed to do alone, and the women take on the feminine role and play and having feminine character, them only them alone. And making a long story short, instead of having the black man to always play the masculine role in a movie or sitcom, they have him playing a feminine role as well. That's to feminize him. Instead of having the black woman to play always a feminine role, they have portray herself as being masculine and playing a masculine role in a movie or sitcom. So that's all a part of them programming the human mind for the worst, and having the men of Judah to think and speak and act like the typical female, and having the women of Judah to think speak and act like the typical male. One of the male species is a man, one of the female species is a woman. So one of the male species being a man is supposed to only be masculine, in which he is alone. And one of the female species being a woman only supposed to be feminine, as she is alone. And that's how it's supposed to be. So, but they want to twist things. That's how the devil do things. So Esau say, hey, we want you to play a woman. Can y'all get a black woman to play this woman that y'all want to have me to play in this particular movie or sitcom, instead of me being a black man and not a black woman? Who better to play the role of a black woman than a black woman herself? Just like who better to play a black man role better than the black man himself? Well, we know about that, but we just figure we want to do a comedy sketch, and the main thing about comedy is making people laugh. And the funny it is, the more revenue you generate, and the more revenue you generate, the more money we make. And so we ain't in the business just to play around, but to make money indeed. So whatever can if the cash register is jingling, that's what we all up for. Meaning that they all about making money without a shadow of doubt, no matter who mind homes it is destroying. As long as it's not damaging them financially, they can give a damn, to say, to care less. But it's brothers as well as it is sisters, especially brothers, that is funny enough, as the Jake comedian by the name of Dave Chappelle said, you don't have to wear a dress. He's funny enough without a dress. Why you need a dress to be funny? So it's all about reversing the role between the black man and black woman. Why this particular tribe of Israel? Because this is the head tribe of the nation of Israel, God's chosen people who are his children. The same tribe in which Christ came. So if we can reverse the role in switching the nature with the people that makes up this tribe, who are the Negroes, then all the other tribes automatically fall hook, line, and sinker. They don't pose us any threat. It's you Judite / so-called Negro that poses the biggest threat, if any. And we don't want you to be conscious and remain conscious, because we know that's it for us and our psychological mind games, and what's keeping us in the game to follow our Gentile rulership. And we don't want that to be the stop to be brought to an end. So we willing to do whatever it takes and go out our way to keep you all divided and messed up. And what better way to do it than to reverse the nature, that the role may be indecently out of order instead of being decently in order. So we have the men to be feminine, that the women may be masculine. Trying to make the men have to be feminine, making the women have to be masculine, when only the men are supposed to be masculine and them alone, and only the women are supposed to be feminine and them alone. It's just that simple. So, yeah, you all do pay close attention to what you're watching and listening to. And peep game that you may be hip enough to be up on things and not to believe the hype, to be pimped by the power of being duped by the devil and being played by the system, but knowing what's what, how about knowing how to maneuver around within the system without being of the system. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Yes, indeed, Hollywood is clowning black women and been so for years. And you all need to wake up and see that, especially us as brothers. So we can see that the men of Judah, as well as the women of Judah, especially the men of Judah, really need to wake up and get away from the atmosphere and know what time it is, know the time they're living in. Because the only salvation for the woman is through the man, and the only salvation for the man is through Christ. And Him only, alone, saves. And with all that being said, Israel, I'd like to sum it up as usual again. It is what it is. Shalom.